right, gang, we are back. The process is here. Time to continue the process. And if you are here right now, if you're tuned in on Wildcard Weekend, then you already know what this is. This is not the casual part of the season. This is not the highlight reel part of the season. This is the part where the margin disappears. This is the part where every decision carries weight, guys. This is the part where preparation starts showing up on the scoreboard and where the people who've been guessing all year finally get exposed. We took a couple of weeks off through the holidays, which is healthy, by the way, but the work never stopped. We were watching the film. We were tracking the data. We were following the patterns because the long march does not pause. It doesn't slow down. It doesn't care about the calendar. And now we're here, and now it's January, and now it's winter, go home. This is where everything we've been building towards starts to matter for the actual playoffs in the NFL. This playoff field is not built on fireworks. Let me tell you that. It's built on structure. Seattle, Denver, New England, Philly, Jacksonville, these teams are all here because they defend, they pressure, they limit mistakes, and they control the middle of the game. That's the common thread. That's not coincidence. Now, that's design. And that design is exactly what's been following all season, that what we've been following, I should say, all season on this show. Last time we met, the double ups did their job. The betting card didn't fully cooperate. That happens. That's part of the process. But here's the difference between now and then. In January, the game simplifies. You stop chasing narratives. You stop falling in love with, stories. You start respecting the math again. And when the game simplifies, the edge gets a bit sharper. We've got 6 games, no filler, no distractions. Every matchup is a thesis. Every pick is a position. Every decision is like either moving you forward or exposing you, basically. So, and that's how we're going to get to treat this weekend. There are people playing in fantasy football playoff leagues. If you haven't tried one of those, that's pretty fun too. If that's not your deal, DFS, that's what it's here for right now. But we're going to treat this weekend with a lot of intention, with discipline, and zero wasted motion. So let's lock in. This is Wildcard Weekend. And before we get to reload or anything like that, breaking these games apart, we got to do what we always do. We got to put our instincts under pressure, right? We have to segue into a little bit of Would You Rather. This is the segment where the season is very honest, right? Like if we take a look at who I would rather play in either one of these scenarios. And so certainly if you got a flex conundrum or you're just unsure of who to play, this is going to help you out a little bit. So with that in mind, first up, we've got Josh Jacobs or Christian Watson. Both are in good spots. Watson absolutely has end zone upside here. Chicago finished the year bottom 10 in explosive pass plays allowed, and their secondary has been leaking big game since, even though they're getting a little bit healthier. I mean, it is what it is, right? So they've been leaking since November. But the reason I'm planting my flag on Josh Jacobs is the game script. Green Bay's path to beating Chicago is not cute. It's physical. Jacobs closed the season top 10 in carries per game. And the Bears ranked in the bottom third of the league in rush EPA allowed over the final 6 weeks. So that's not a coincidence. That's a weakness. This is a stack the box, bleed the clock, break their will kind of game, if you will, right? I'm taking Jacobs. If someone wants Watson's in tournaments or even in cash games, that's fine. But I think, between the two of these, I would prefer Jacobs. However, I will say that there are more running back options than wide receiver options, I think, this weekend. But this feels like a Josh Jacobs game. Next up, would you rather Devontae Adams or Josh Jacobs? Okay, so Adams isn't in a bad spot, but here's the difference. If the Rams tilt pass heavy, Adams still isn't even the clear focal point. The target tree has grown. The margin has shrunk. Meanwhile, Jacobs owns the highest leverage touches in the offense. When Green Bay wins, he's usually a part of that game plan. So again, Josh Jacobs here. Next up, would you rather DK Metcalf or Jaylen Warren this weekend? This was close. Warren is steady, but the split with Gainwell caps his ceiling. Metcalf, is walking into a tough matchup. We know that Houston finished top 10 in limiting explosive passes and top 5 in pressure rate. But here's the reality. Pittsburgh is almost certainly chasing in the fourth quarter. And when the Steelers chase, the ball will have to find DK. So volume plus urgency plus talent beats matchup. I'm going to go Metcalf in that one. Next up, would you rather play Dallas Goedert or Luther Burden III? Give me Goddard all day. Philly's red zone pass rate jumps in tight games, and Goddard finished the year with a target share north of 20%, inside the 20s, more inside the red zone, if you will. So Burden's talent is real, but the attention is back on Odunze and DJ Moore. This is structure. This is Goddard. So next up, would you rather Colston Loveland or Luther Burden? I'm going to take Loveland here. He has a cleaner path to a touchdown. Neither is the first read, to be sure, but Loveland's routes live where points are scored, basically. In January, you don't chase yardage, chase the box. Next up, Luther Burden or Kyle Monangai. Give me Kyle Monangai. This is about identity. They want to shorten the game, the Bears. They want to own the middle. They've been running behind Thuney all year, have the Bears. And Monangai has been the most reliable red zone runner down the stretch. That's just who they go to. You don't overthink that in the playoffs, so we'll take him. Next up, Jaden Reed or Kyle Monangai. Reed should be involved, but Green Bay's receiver usage is a carousel. Monangai's the funnel. The ball has to go through him if the script holds. Again, I'm going to take Monangai right here. Next up, Romeo Doubs or Kyle Monangai. Same reasoning, same answer, Kyle Monangai. Next up, Stephon Diggs or Trevion Henderson this weekend. Would you rather? Give me Diggs. The Chargers finished top 5 in early down success rate allowed, which basically means New England's going to be throwing in the second half whether they want to or not. When the Patriots are chasing, Diggs becomes the entire offense essentially. So Henderson's splitting with Stevenson. That's not the profile I want when the season's on the line. So I'll go with Diggs. Next up, would you rather Devontae Adams or Kyren Williams? So this one's easy for me. I would rather Kyren Williams. Carolina finished bottom 5 in rush yards allowed per drive, and the Rams don't win this game, I don't think, unless Kyren is the engine. I think he can control the pace, the clock, and the outcome. Final one here as a conundrum. Would you rather play Tyler Higbee or Kyle Monangai? And we'll go with Monangai again. Higbee is buried in this pecking order, and the ball just doesn't go there consistently enough. Not really anything to think about for me on that one. Monangai is a game script piece. That matters now more than ever. So that's my would you rather for Wildcard Weekend. And it's not guesses. These are the positions, right, based off the stats and what I've been seeing all year. That's how you build a weekend that holds up when the pressure hits. All right, quick timeout, guys. Switch over to something that really matters here for a minute. If you're building a company, a product, a team, whatever, and you've ever had this thought, like, we need senior talent, but we're not ready to light 6 figures on fire for full hires. That's exactly why Fraction exists. Fraction lets you plug in top tier, US-based engineers, growth marketers, and product leaders on a fractional basis. Quarter time, half-time, full-time even if you want, without the hiring circus or the bloated payroll or the long-term risk. These aren't freelancers. These are not juniors. These are people who have built, scaled, and shipped. And they slot into your team immediately. And the best part of all that, you don't have to guess. You don't have to overcommit. You don't have to hope it works out. You build exactly what you need at exactly the speed you need it. And you stay in control of burn this entire time. So if hiring feels slow, expensive, risky, or just broken, Fraction is the fix. Check out the team at hirefraction.com and build your team like you actually want to win. All right, with that in mind, guys, let's switch back over to some football. Let's get to our big segment of every show where we go over the game scripts. We're going to hit the reload, and we got the Wildcard Weekend 6 matchups on tap. So let's get to this Saturday slate here. We start with the Rams at the Panthers. And I don't think this one is particularly complicated. Carolina overachieved just to get here, and credit to them for that. But this is where it is, to be sure. If I'm the Rams, I'm not chasing highlights. I'm not forcing Stafford to be a hero. I'm leading straight into what wins playoff games. Ball control and defense. Carolina finished the season in the bottom third of the league in rush defense and allowed over 4.5 yards per carry at home. That's the opening. That's the door. And when you're on the road in January, you don't invite chaos, right? You close the doors. So you let Kyren Williams chew the clock. Rams can make Carolina tackle for 4 quarters, and let your defense keep the temperature on the game low. Puka and Adams are dangerous, for sure. For sure. But I don't expect Puka to go nuclear here. This is about composure. This is about control. Rams win this game on the road, clean and convincing. Reload. All right, now let's get to one everybody's circling, the Packers at the Bears. The fan in me wants Chicago. All right, let's get that out the way. But the analyst in me refuses. Green Bay's defense has been a top 10 unit in DVOA since November, and they were a playoff defense a year ago before anybody with new names popped up, right? Like Micah Parsons. So this isn't some paper tiger. This is a group that closes space. They create pressure, and they don't crack late in games. So if you're Chicago, the only way you keep this close is by shortening the game and staying on the ground. Swift will get touches, but the back that actually moves this offense right now is Calvin Nungai. More efficient per carry over the final month. More reliable in short yardage, and the only consistently converting red zone opportunities. The only person or the only one between the backs consistently converting red zone opportunities. So that's where Chicago lives. They're gonna live it all, basically. But Caleb Williams' legs matter here too. Green Bay doesn't give up a lot of quarterback rushing yardage, but mobile quarterbacks force linebackers to hesitate and safeties to cheat, and that's how passing lanes kind of get opened up. So if you're fishing for upside, Roma Dunze is the tournament swing. On the Green Bay side, this is where the Packers do what nobody expects. They slow it down. Josh Jacobs finished the year top 8 in yards per carry. Chicago finished bottom 10 in rush EPA allowed, and that is the mismatch that decides this game for me. Green Bay will bleed the clock, make Chicago chase late, and that's when Love puts it away. Packers win on the road. Reload. Next up, Bills at the Jaguars. So Buffalo's path to winning this game is very narrow. It's Josh Allen playing like an MVP and everything else falling in line behind him doing that. Jacksonville's defense finished top 7 in yards per drive allowed at home and top 5 against the run. That's not where you want to attack them. I'll take my shot with Allen. I'll sprinkle Kincaid in there, but I'm not overexposing myself to that offense. On the other side, the story is patience and discipline is what I mean to say. Travis Etienne has been excellent down the stretch, to be sure, and Jacksonville has quietly become one of the best teams in the league at winning the hidden yardage battle. Trevor Lawrence hasn't been spectacular, but he hasn't been losing games either. And in January, that matters. Buffalo's been wildly inconsistent all season. Jacksonville has been steady when it counts. Give me the Jaguars at home in this one. Reload. Then we get the heavyweight bout of the 49ers at the Eagles. And, I think the 49er defense is coming around a little bit. They held Seattle under 20 points. That means something. Tackling a little bit better, pass coverage tighten up a little bit at the right time. Now, if we take a look at the Eagles offensively, it's still the same equation. If Saquon Barkley has a superstar game, this thing gets away from San Francisco. If he doesn't, it becomes a street fight, basically. So Jalen Hurts' legs will matter. They always do. But San Francisco's defense has grown up over the last 6 weeks. They no longer are hemorrhaging big plays. They're pressuring the quarterback a bit more, and they're closing out some games here and there. So McCaffrey will get his touches, but Philly's front with Jalen Carter back is not the unit you want to grind against. San Francisco's edge is that if they can survive, it's going to be surviving ugly. I think that they can really muddy the waters, see if they can play good defense against a Philadelphia offense that has had its struggles this year. I think ugly's coming up in this one. Give me the 49ers with the upset on the road. Reload. All right, Sunday night, Chargers at the Patriots. This is a grinder. 2 top 10 defenses, cold weather, playoff nerves. Points will be expensive. If there's offense, it's through Lab McConkey for the Chargers and Stephon Diggs, I think, for New England. And that's tournament exposure, not foundation. I want pieces of Stephon Diggs in tournament. But McConkey, I think, more of maybe a surer thing, if you want to say, between the two. I want pieces of Drake May. He's been too good for too long to ignore, essentially. But this game lives in the margins. This is field position, missed kicks, fourth quarter nerves, that sort of a deal. And in those games, weird things happen. I'm gonna take the weird side in this one. I want Chargers to steal one in Foxborough. I just don't buy the New England as tough as everybody is saying that they are. Reload our last shot. We'll make it a good one. Finally, Texans at Steelers on Monday night. This one is not subtle. Pittsburgh's defense is not good enough to survive this matchup. CJ Stroud is in a smash spot. Nico Collins is in a smash spot. This is the spine of this game. Houston's offensive line is shaky. The backfield is split. So I don't want to chase the run. We chase production through the air in this one. On the other side, Houston's defense is real. Pittsburgh doesn't have the answers. I don't want Steelers exposure. I don't want to guess. Texans on the road. All right. That is our reload segment for Wildcard Weekend. Hopefully me going through the game scripts like that helps you guys understand where you want to go in terms of your DFS play, your picks and everything, and what makes sense. All right. Quick Dev Hawk break. Look, every coach in the NFL knows the same truth. The scoreboard only exists. The scoreboard only tells part of the story. The real game is in the film room. Who's winning their matchups? Who's missing assignments? Where the drive actually stalled. Running an engineering team, surprisingly, without DevHawk is like coaching without film, guys. You hear excuses. You feel the momentum swing. But you don't actually see what happened. DevHawk is the film room for your new dev org. It puts the real signal. It pulls the real signal, I should say, commits, PRs, tickets, delivery flow, and turns it into something that you can coach, adjust, and win with. No micromanaging, no guessing, no we'll fix it next sprint energy, just clear reads on what's moving, what's stuck, and who's driving the offense. And right now, we're letting teams actually try this out for free. If you're tired of calling plays without the tape, go to devhawk.ai. Sign up for your free trial. Get your team in the film room. All right, now let's get into the DFS wildcard slate here. I got my picks here. I put them up on the screen for you. But this is a really interesting DFS week because the player pool is tight, the matchups are defined, and the playoff environment forces teams into very specific game scripts. And so when that happens, DFS becomes less about guessing and more about understanding, how the games are actually going to be played. So we start where we always start, and we'll kind of center this around the cash core. You can see all the plays there. I'll try to magnify it enough for you. You see all the plays, but this is on the website too, by the way. If you want to go to tigerbombsae.com, you can pull those up, view those, and download whatever you want to do. But anyways, at quarterback, I'm building around Jalen Hurts at 6,300 and CJ Stroud at 5,200, specifically Stroud. Hurts is the cleanest floor on the slate. Philadelphia has leaned on him heavily down the stretch, especially in high leverage games. And so the Eagles finished the season top 6 in red zone touchdown rate. And a part of that is that tush push and, Hurts is rushing equity. So you're getting goal line work, scramble points, and playoff urgency at a salary that's way too friendly for that sort of a profile. Stroud at $5,200 is just a gift. Pittsburgh's defense finished bottom 5, I should say, in passing yards allowed and explosive plays conceded over the final 6 weeks. Houston's offensive line isn't great, but the Steelers generate pressure in bunches, which ironically boosts Stroud fantasy output because of how often he's forced to extend plays and downfield throws, if that's the case. He's averaging nearly 270 yards passing per game in competitive scripts, and that's exactly what this game sets up to be. At running back, the foundation's got to be Saquon Barkley, 7K, Travis Etienne, 6K, and then your leverage backs. Saquon is the engine of that Eagles offense right now. Over the final month of the season, Philadelphia ranked top 5 in rushing success rate and top 3 in rushing EPA. Against San Francisco, the entire game plan runs through him, controlling the pace, keeping Purdy off the field, and forcing the 49ers linebackers to live in the box. Saquon's touch floor is massive, and his ceiling is still slate breaking. The end at 6K is quietly one of the strongest values on the board. Buffalo's run defense finished outside the top 20 in yards after contact allowed and missed tackles. Jacksonville's offense becomes extremely condensed in big games, and Etienne is the centerpiece of that. And he's touching the ball in all game scripts. Then we layer in Kyron Williams, $6,400, and Josh Jacobs, $6,300, depending on build. Kyron draws that Carolina front that finished bottom 10 in rushing yards allowed and bottom 5 in explosive run weight conceded. The Rams are a double-digit favorite for a reason. This is clock control, run game, playoff football. Kyron's floor is beautiful, and his ceiling is still elite as well. Jacobs, however, is the leverage play against Chicago. The Bears were gashed on the ground down the stretch, allowing over 4.6 yards per carry in their final 5 games. Green Bay doesn't need to overcomplicate this. They can control the game with Jacobs and force Caleb Williams into chase mode. If you need salary relief, Kyle Monungai at $5,200 is absolutely live. Chicago wants to slow this game down. Monungai's role has expanded steadily, and his red zone involvement has spiked. He's not flashy, but the workload is real. At wide receiver, the slate anchors are clear. Nico Collins, $7,200 is one of the strongest cash plays of the weekend. Pittsburgh simply does not have the secondary to handle him. They allow the 5th most yards per target to outside receivers this season, and Stroud's chemistry with Nico has only grown. So this is the type of playoff matchup where your alpha is going to eat. Ladd McConkey, $5,700 is a smash at that price. New England plays zone at one of the highest rates in the league, and Ladd absolutely cooks zone coverage. His route tree, target share, and red zone involvement give him a beautiful floor with legitimate 2 touchdown upside. Christian Watson, $4,900. Underpriced for his role in this offense. Chicago's secondary struggles with, they struggle with speed on the perimeter. If Watson hits once, he pays it off. If he hits twice, he breaks the slate. For tournaments, I'm mixing in Puka Nacua, $8,700. You couldn't keep me away. And Diggs, $6,300. Rome Odunze, $5,800. Juan Jennings, $5,400. And I got Jaden Higgins, $4,100, that Monday night hammer. But the cash bills revolve around Nico, Ladd, and Watson, essentially. At tight end, it's Dallas Goedert, $4,200. Philadelphia funnels targets to the tight end, to the middle of the field in playoff environments, I should say. San Francisco's linebackers struggle in coverage, and Goddard's red zone usage jumps in must-win games. So this is a playoff tight end profile at a mid-range price, basically. Dalton Schultz, though, $4K, and Dalton Kincaid, $3,800, are excellent pivots. And Oronde Gasson, the second, $3,400 is a deep tournament value with athletic upside. At defense, I'm starting with the Chargers, $2,200 way down there. That price is absurd for a unit facing a cold New England offense that, they can be a bit inconsistent at times and a little mistake prone sometimes. You're paying for the floor and letting the slate breathe. I also like the Rams up top at $3,500, Texans $3,300. 49ers intriguing at $2,400. Obviously, that plays with my pick for them to win that game, depending on build and correlation. But that is my DFS picks for this week, guys. That's how I see it breaking down. Hopefully, that helps you fill in some gaps. Don't try to emulate my lineups directly. That's stupid. That's lame. That's not fun, and it's bad karma for you and for me. Use it, supplement it, where you may have a spot or two where you're just like, I don't know who to play. Think about who I've suggested in the price range there and just sub them in. That's the way you do it. Boom. Let's move on to housekeeping. Guys, let's land this plane with a little bit of housekeeping. This last piece before we close this thing out, because a lot of you are going to be playing this weekend. We're going to specifically, stick to my underdog picks this weekend. And I want to be very, very clear about how I'm approaching these. It's not parlays. I want to build lottery. I don't want to build lottery tickets is what I mean to say. When I think about it doesn't matter where you play these plays, underdog, anywhere else. These are individual positions of conviction. If you want to combine a couple of the lower risk ones, that's fine. And on underdog, you'll have to, right? They don't let you just kind of do the one off. So on that site, understandably, you'd have to. If you're playing somewhere else, you don't have to. But the edge this weekend is playing these one by one, letting the math do its job and not forcing everything into one slip. That doesn't make sense. So let's walk through the card the right way. We start with Rams at Panthers. I like the Rams to win straight up. That's a reflection of identity. Carolina finished bottom 10 in rush success allowed, bottom 5 in explosive runs allowed, and the Rams finished the season top 8 in time of possession. This is a playoff road game where you remove variance, you run the football, you play defense, and you leave. That's Rams football right now. So alongside that, Kyron Williams over you know, 0.5 rushing or receiving touchdown stands on its own. So that's a Kyron Williams anytime touchdown. I want that. His role in this offense is massive. His red zone usage is elite, and his matchup is built for him to score. Separately, Caleb Williams in the Bears-Packers game, over 233.5 passing yards, passing and rushing yards, both. That's good. I'm going to take that. With his rushing upside, I really want to take that. When Chicago falls behind, this becomes a volume game, and Green Bay's defense, as good as it is, does not stop movement quarterbacks completely. His legs create free yards and force coverage changes that inflate his total output. So I like that one there. Next up, Jacksonville to win outright against Buffalo. That's not a fade of Josh Allen's talent. It's a recognition of Jacksonville's home defense. They finished top 5 in opponent passer rating allowed in that building over the final stretch. Buffalo's offense has been wildly inconsistent. Trevor Lawrence isn't losing games, and in January, that really does matter. All right, 49ers at Eagles. First here, I got, Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown, rushing, receiving. That's pure opportunity. Philly's offense condenses near the goal line, and Saquon's touchdown equity in this environment is enormous. 49ers money line as its own position. As we talked about, the Niners defense has been top 7 in points allowed over the final 6 weeks. Philly has been good, but they've been mortal. If the Niners keep this within one possession into the fourth quarter, that's where experience and discipline starts winning football games. And then Dalton Kincaid over 39.5 receiving yards by itself. Jacksonville funnels targets inside, and Buffalo will need chains to move, and Kincaid's role has been quietly expanding when the game tightens. So we like that one. Chargers, Patriots, Chargers to win straight. This is a low, physical, winter playoff game, but Justin Herbert is the best quarterback on the field, and that usually tells the story. Then the props that live independently in that same environment, Jawan Jennings over 44.5 receiving yards. San Francisco's pressure valve when defenses overcommit is this guy, right? And so I do like that. Keenan Allen under 6.5 targets. The Chargers offense has become more vertical, and his short area role continues to shrink. Stephon Diggs' long reception over 20.5 yards. One play pays this off. New England's coverage structure invites it, basically. Or not New England. I should say their opponent's coverage structure invites it, essentially. But and finally, the one that might decide the weekend, Texans to win against Pittsburgh. Houston's defense is real. Pittsburgh has collapsed. Nico Collins over 71.5 receiving yards. Pittsburgh's finished bottom 5 in passing yards allowed down the stretch, and Nico is the best receiver on the field. CJ Stroud over 1.5 passing touchdowns. This matchup is built for him. The volume is coming. The ceiling is real. DK Metcalf under a touchdown, so he will be held scoreless. Houston's red zone defense has been elite, and Pittsburgh's offense simply doesn't have the structure to manufacture touchdowns right now. And so that's the way I'm going to bet it this weekend, and hopefully that helps you guys, and good luck with you there. But that's it for this one. Wildcard Weekend is here. The board is set. The edges are identified. Now it's just about execution. Trust the process. Play your positions clean. Let the math do the work for us. If this helped you, make sure you're subscribed. Drop a like. Send this to the group chat so somebody, can take a look. Nobody should have an excuse for playing scared this weekend, right? I'll be right back here next week on the process, and we'll continue the process where we learn, scout, win, and repeat.
My daddy killed this